Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we have exciting news for you. They just dropped from the dev team their Hall of Kings Q&A number 5, which is all about the latest season in SOS / aka Season 3 for Rise of the Dragon. Now, the responses we're going to read, along with the dev responses, are from kings and queens that played and experienced in that season. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you throw us a because that was a lot. Thanks. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about the map. In future updates and future season updates, we plan to introduce more routes and open field PvP content to enrich the gameplay experience further. Okay, let's see what people were saying. So the bullet points are kind of summarized feedback from kings or queens. I also think the map is way too large. The problem is not the size of the map, but the resources we generate for flags of an alliance. Zone 1s, these are too large. It feels like they were designed for multiple kingdoms in size, or AKA multiple players, or multiple alliances. To be honest, map was so big it was hard to control alliance RSS. Response is the original design aimed to maintain the map's basic visual appeal, but we realized that we had unintentionally made it harder to manage alliance resources. We sincerely apologize for this. In future map designs, we will work to reduce wasted space and ensure that every inch of the land has its strategic value. I mean, that's a big, big commitment to say every inch of the land, just saying you don't want anyone nitpicking you. However, I do like the fact that they are acknowledging that we can have more routes, meaning maybe more kind of choke point paths, along with having a little bit more focus on open field PvP. Now, this doesn't mean that we just need absolutely only flatland, but I think, if anything, one of the great things that the Rise of the Dragon season gave us was a lot more cavalry opportunity and even a little bit more flying opportunity, just because of the position for some of the paths that you had to take. Even though, yeah, you could argue flying probably wasn't that massive, but the opportunity for it was there. And I think the fact that we saw cavalry being utilized in certain zones because of the shape of them and the way that the territory was designed, or the landscape, those are the kinds of things where I want to see those opportunities, where we get to see more diverse unit usage, whether it's in up to every single zone, or if maybe one zone or a different zone maybe favors a particular unit maybe a little bit more here or there. But I am very much all for this, and I think these are some good responses to what they were addressing. Selectivity of starting zones and balance between zones. First off, if they answer this the way that I'm hoping they're going to answer this, this could arguably be the single best future update as it pertains to KvK and overall PvP that can help out in so many ways. Okay, let's read. When you cannot pick starting zones, the map needs to be balanced, which has seemed to be an issue in certain zones in past seasons, and 100% is this season in Dragon Zone. Needs balancing in Final Zone. Final Zone entry and length to the Shadow Dragon is not equal for all, and this is not good. The pathing should be somewhat similar or equal for all zones, as to not give an unfair advantage to one side or the other. Some zone ones are a bit more stretched wide than others, which is a small downside compared to other zones. Their answer: we plan to make starting zones selectable in future seasons. Thank you, CoD Jesus. While also making sure that zones are as balanced as possible. So I think the biggest thing here when we talk about kind of flagging balance, and that's really, I think, a bit more of what they're hinting at, which is like, hey, just make it the same equal distance from flags in every zone. So as an example, more so in Zone 2 and beyond, not necessarily in Zone 1, but in Zone 2 and beyond, make it so the flagging distance, but maybe it is more so FZ. I mean, Zone 2 and Zone 3s, I guess it depends, because it also depends on the angle you're coming from, and if you're going to a closer or farther away zone, or pass to get to the next zone. So I guess this probably is a little bit more FZ focused or Zone 4 focused, but I think the general consensus here is just make it, and we talked about this for multiple seasons, just make it so there is an equal distance from every single pass, if it's the level 5 pass, whatever number it is, from the final zone on the perimeter to get to the dragon in the middle. That's it. Just, it doesn't matter if you want to make an abstract pathing, just have it be the same equal number of flag distances. The second one here, which to me is absolutely the biggest, and it's probably going to be my number one point here for this entire Q&A, is, dude, they're really slamming some massive W's down right now. This is something you even heard me talking about earlier on in previous seasons as an advocate for being able to select your starting zone. And they can do this a couple different ways. You can do it where you bring back the team up phase along that pre-KvK storyline or timeline, excuse me, and you make it so you guys get to choose your teams. You can do it to where the game system forces you, and it just puts you on teams, right? They balance it out themselves, and they say you're teaming with these people, right? So there's kind of two versions of how you can do that. The third option is kind of doing it how they did it this season, where they didn't do teams, but they said, you guys figure out the diplomacy yourself, right? So, and at that point, then you could still have selections. Now, how do you go about selecting starting zones? Well, I think one of the ways you can do this is you either maybe do it where you have the strongest kingdom from each team go at a time, right? So Team A, top kingdom picks. Team B, top kingdom picks. Team A, second strongest kingdom picks, and then so on and so forth. You could do it that way. You can do it where it's random and one kingdom from each team gets to pick. You can do it where you have everyone manually choosing. So like, let's say you don't do the team thing and you do it how it was this season for Rise of the Dragon, where let's say you have 6 kingdoms there, but everyone's kind of already figured out who they're going to work with. Have it be random. This kingdom gets to go first, this one goes next, and then you do it that way. Obviously, I think some will be better than others depending on the system used. But the fact that they're going to allow you to select starting zone placements, this is going to make KvK's overall more enjoyable, more engaging, a lot more PvP friendly, and motivated for the players that are there. And to me, it's just a win all around. Now, obviously, there might still be some tinkering and fine-tuning they'll have to do eventually, but I think this is a great next step for the game. Click on villages. If you are going to make me click on over 1,000 villages, at least give me 1,000 different stories. Have story villages only for the number of unique stories you have. I absolutely concur with what was said above. Either make them useful or get rid of them, as if they are simply an administrative headache, as if they are, as they are. If you want to keep the benefits so small, excuse me, just make it apply to everyone in the alliance that owns them and just be done with it. Just please let me claim all the villages and other things from scouting with one click. I'm not clicking 1,000 villages every season. In upcoming versions, we will make the following changes. Here we go. 1, introduce a new radar system where lords can complete a set number of missions each day. Number 2, exploration sites, villages, caves, camps, etc. discovered through missed exploration will be turned as missions or maybe into missions within the radar system. Okay, significantly reduce the number of exploration sites on the map while increasing the rewards. Okay, I think that's a win. We hope these changes will ease the burden of handling exploration points and provide a much better exploration experience. I think these are good next steps to getting there. Absolutely. One of the things I will tell you that I like about what the game offers is when you used to do the things in the beginning where you had like the Where's Waldo and you had to go and like find, like it gave you hints on where it was like the X marks the spot and you had to go and like find these things on the map. I think if you can figure out a way to do creative things like that, that give you rewards, maybe it's solving a puzzle. Maybe it's, again, finding something on a map. Maybe it's having to send a unit somewhere. Whatever it is. I think coming up with these kinds of unique, creative ways to engage players can make these kinds of experiences, i.e. the villages, a lot more enjoyable and rewarding at the same time. Next one, Way of Hiso. In upcoming seasons, we plan to introduce new mechanics as part of the gameplay, providing a fresh and engaging experience for all players. Elixir, we've introduced a new alliance skill, Lifebloom Vault, which, where am I going? To give lords more elixir, improving the PvP experience. In the following seasons, we will also consider similar designs with a focus on improving the in-game experience for players. Okay. I think most people are pretty happy that there's just more generally more elixir opportunities in the game. I haven't seen anyone just, being upset at it. Now, maybe some people have some ideas on adjustments. And if you do, I'd love to hear those in the comments below. Merit system. The merit adjustments seem to have lowered overall merit reports for all marches instead of buffing the support and tank merits as you had aimed for. Our intention with the change to the merit system and was to help players earn more merits, but we are sorry to hear that it has had the opposite effect. Therefore, we will conduct an internal review and consider possible solutions to resolve this issue as soon as possible. Okay. I'll say something at the end. About Hiso, due to this, the infantry can't get enough merits just melting. We call this season of Mage. It feels like Mage over others. Thanks for the feedback regarding the imbalance between Mage and other units. We will internally analyze the performance data of each unit throughout the season, working to prevent any imbalance caused by skill design. If merit of infantry does drop significantly, we will consider adjusting the balance of skills. So my whole thing is this, is that, and again, this is more about, like, I would love to see them come out with like the glory point system that we once had, but just maybe improve it a little bit. And or if this is exactly how it worked before, I'm okay with that. But I'd love for them to bring that, add that in addition to merits, and have it so where the glory point system, one, is where you can only start gaining them once Zone 2 opens. Number two, you cannot attack anyone to gain glory points that started out in your home kingdom Zone 1. So anyone that's there, even if it's multiple alliances, even if there's multiple kingdoms in your starting Zone 1, you cannot attack anyone that is from there, meaning even if they go into Zone 2, if they make it into Zone 3, Zone 4, across the entire map, anyone that started there with you, you can't gain glory points off of them. And then number three, which could just be simply put, is they could also just make it to where if you bring the whole team matchup or the team up phase back, you can say, well, you can only gain glory points at the start of once Zone 2 opens, or maybe once the first statue opens, and or then Zone 2. And they have to be on the other team in order to gain those glory points. I think I would love to really see them add something like that in, so it can just be a little bit more PvP focused and let merits kind of do what merits do, right? Now, again, on the point of adjusting, I think for me, it would have been nice to see some numbers. It would have been nice if like they came with some data and said, well, look, we tested, because this is not difficult. You can test this in game. All you have to do is just have a couple players, test out some different unit types and some different matchups, and just do like basic merit trading and see what the merit gains are on them, right? Even if you're just trying to establish a baseline. So I just would have liked to seen some numbers here. I felt like there was clearly an opportunity for that to happen and it didn't. So maybe the next time they talk about this, they'll take some time to do some data collection there. Behemoths. We will continue to introduce new or interesting mechanics for behemoths and gameplay in the future. Regarding the low difficulty level this time, Sentinel was fun, but I felt it was extremely easy as many behemoths are now. I think the difficulty should be increased as teams in the past would have to put in serious effort and try behemoths many times. I do feel, however, that every behemoth lacks the balance numerically for the mechanics of the raid to feel meaningful. More behemoths like this, please, but make them harder. The new content could be a little harder. Being T5 with one set of good march, the raids feel a little too easy. You don't really have to dodge all mechanics, nor use a tank to sustain the damage while damage dealer do the damage. Lots of damage there. Considering the significant stat differences between players at different levels, we decided to set the ordinary raid to low difficulty. I actually think this is appropriate, and I'll get to that in a minute. The main reason is that occupying a behemoth involves competition with other alliances. And if the ordinary raid is too difficult, the players fail to defeat, it will significantly hinder the alliance's development. Therefore, we have placed higher difficulty in the elite raid. In the future, we will also analyze completion rates and adjust the difficulty accordingly to provide a better experience for everyone. As for more challenging raids, we are already planning them. Please stay tuned. So my whole thing is this, is as a first occupation raid, which is really what they're talking about, right? It's like, let's just capture the behemoth the first time. The difficulty level, to me, I do believe it should be lower. Now, that doesn't mean that it needs to be at an all-time low, but it does need to be low enough to where potentially the weakest kingdom in that particular KvK group could capture it. And you may argue and say, and feel that maybe you fall on the other side of the fence for that. Well, my solution for that is that's exactly what the elite raids are for. Now, one of the things I would love to see them do is maybe have 2 different difficulty levels. Maybe they add something beyond elite or before elite, and elite becomes the hardest one, or maybe something beyond elite becomes the hardest one. In addition to that, I would love to see them have a leaderboard in the KvK that shows you behemoth clear times. So you can see who cleared this behemoth. Like maybe if you hover over a behemoth, it'll show you the regular time and the elite raid time, and then which kingdom or which alliance defeated it, what the time was, or if they have that information. That's something I think could actually encourage more people to really, because this is my whole thing. I think they're missing an opportunity here on really investing more on behemoths, and then having people be like world time chasers, right? Like have it be a subset part of the game that people are really into. Like I can tell you, back when I was keeping times on behemoth elite raids, people, especially in the beginning of the game, maybe not so much now, but in the beginning of the game after global, people would update me on a regular basis of like, boss, I just did this. Our team just did this, updated for us. And I would do regular postings. People loved this. I would love for them to invest more in that on the behemoth kind of PvE side. Rotate older behemoths. We can rotate. Can we rotate the older behemoths in every season? Dire Bear, Miasma Giant. In the following seasons, we will rotate older behemoths while introducing new ones, giving players the opportunity to earn frames. Glad to hear that most players like this mechanism. We will continue to use this mechanism in future seasons. I assume they mean Supreme Statue, but I would have loved for them to state that, because this line item is not obvious as it should be. Number 5, story. Most people do not play this game for the story. It's a sad fact. I see the amount of time and effort you all put into creating a cool story. Suggestion, more engaging quests for the story with maybe a few brief cinematics to watch and draw in players to the story that is going on. Thank you for your feedback. We will invest more in narrative presentation in the future, aiming to attract more players to experience our story. We plan to, 1, add more narrative timelines to enhance the presentation of the story. Number 2, optimize quest types and offer more engaging quests. I think that's a win-win. I myself, I know there's some people that are really into the story. I myself am not. And that's not to take away, and that's not to diminish and say that because remember, there's people there at the company that work on the story. I'm sure there's people there that are very invested in the story. They care about the story. They love the story. And there's players that feel the same way. So I'm not going to sit here and say that every player or the majority of players don't. What I will say is that for me, what I think is that the majority of players, when they get into the game, if you're talking about like what's priority for them, well, I think the priority is playing the game, and maybe secondary is, okay, let's then like really pay attention to the story for the majority. And then I'm sure you have a subset of people who are like, oh no, the story is what I want to see first, and then I'll kind of get into everything else. But I do like their response to this. However, this was a little harsh to say it's a sad fact, but I get it. Migration. Am I still going to have to pay nearly $385 to migrate a 100 mil plus player who did not contribute below? And I think what they mean is discharge the player. Below 150 ranking and merits, a price tag of hundreds of dollars to move once is crazy. Maybe have some limited time event throughout the year where it's discounted. We encourage players to focus on managing and developing their home kingdoms. Therefore, we currently have no plans for any discount event or migration permits. We are still discussing and seeking appropriate solution. You can see this one got 12 clown faces. So this is my thing, and I'm going to pitch this because I've been pitching it lately, is that I would love to see them come out with some kind of discharge kingdom or the kingdom of exiles, where if you discharge a player, instead of them getting put on a timer, etc., right, all that stuff, the moment you discharge someone, they immediately get force migrated over to this kingdom. And in this kingdom is only for people that have been discharged. In this kingdom, a couple things can happen. Number 1, you will get, let's say, like a 10% discount on the amount of permits that you need. Number 2, you can acquire permits at twice the regular rate, meaning instead of once a week, you can do 2 a week. Number 3, in this kingdom, you can do something to where you have the final zone, which is just constant PvP, or at least PvP is enabled, we'll say, in the final zone. And in zones 1 and 2, there's no PvP allowed. But you could still join alliances. You can participate in events, PvE events. You can still buy things there. And then the fourth thing would be you cannot participate while you are there. You cannot participate in anything KvK related, right? So to me, and maybe there's other things, but to me, I feel like those 4 points are probably the main ones. That I think would actually be a way to solve, I think, a lot of things that people are talking about with this. And it also doesn't make it so the game loses out on the money they want to make, but it also gives a little bit of a break to the players that are needing to, but it also removes the players from those kingdoms immediately. I guess this would be number 5, is that because it removes players from those kingdoms immediately via being discharged, that, keep in mind, the kingdoms probably would want them to leave anyways. They immediately do not count towards any stats or anything that has to do with the kingdom. So it is, to me, I feel like a win-win-win across the board, right? You got to give a little to get some, right? It can't just be a one-way street. Okay, number 7, Mist. Mist is one of the things that people begged you to get rid of, but here we are clearing it again. We realize that exploring Mist every season would put too much pressure on players. Therefore, considering the world lore and main storyline, Mist exploration will only be introduced in season 1, 2, and 3. In other words, players will need to explore Mist when entering Tamaris, Belleron, and Swancho, but no further exploration will be needed in later seasons. Okay, I guess it's somewhat of a compromise. Number 8, Avatar Frame. I dislike the timing for the frame is so heavily dependent on RNG for the phases. We are considering the following adjustments. As long as the elite raid is completed within the time limit, participating members will receive a permanent avatar frame. Okay, that actually seems like a nice win. The first alliance in the server to complete the elite raid within the time limit will be granted the avatar frame with a special effect. Okay, we hope this adjustment will encourage active participation in elite raids while allowing top alliances to compete for the rare avatar frame with special effects. Okay. The number of gear sentries and sentinels needed. Getting 6 sentries for an Ember needing to stretch into 3 zone 3s is too much and needs to be reduced to something reasonable. Yeah, maybe 2 zone 3s. This map is much too large, particularly with the requirement to hold 6 gear sentries for second place rewards. We will consider optimizing it based on season data and take this into account for season. I mean, I think this is a good point. Is that if you're going to have to do that amount of work, the reward should either be increased or you should make it so it's a little easier, right? Maybe instead of having to go into 3 zone 3s, you go into 2 zone 3s. But this is something that was echoed, and I think this was massively impacted in that 4v2 KvK for that whole betrayal drama that we covered, where this point here was actually really exacerbated. Number 10, aggro range for the Darklings. Shadow Citadels, this is a fun new time gate mechanic. Can you perhaps maybe lower the aggro range for them slightly? The Shadow Citadels plus the Spires is a bit much and just slows down initial building and causes annoyances with the range for the Darklings in particular. The Darkling Legion is designed to encourage players to gather together to clear monsters before expanding their territory. If the Darkling's aggro range is too limited, it would compromise the intention. We will further consider optimization. I mean, listen, I'd have to see exactly what they mean, because if they're just saying the aggro range is too limited, like, do they want the range to be farther? Oh, sorry. I guess they're saying the aggro range is too big and they want the range to be reduced a bit. I don't know, man. I didn't really, and it's not as though I'm going out and asking people, but I'd love to know, like, is it just because it's too far? Is it because when it's too far and it's also interacting maybe with Spires because the aggro range is within the Spire range? Is that kind of maybe where more of they're going at for this one? Just because I don't know if I really saw anyone that was like overwhelmingly complaining about this particular topic. But again, it's not as though I'm over specifically asking people about it either. I'm curious to what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Last one, defense. I think they mean chokes here, because it looks like chalks, but it's chokes. I get it. After gate 3, due to having 1 spire, I'm shocked that no one here mentioned the whole pass opening thing so far. That's the one thing I'm flabbergasted on, is how no one mentioned at all. And maybe they did. Let me be clear. Maybe they did, but it just wasn't highlighted. But I'm shocked that it wasn't more of a focal point to where it could have been highlighted on how we need to have the cross zone 3 gates, or allowing for people's zone 3s to get invaded, that those passes need to open after the final zone passes. I'm shocked that that is not a point here that was brought up. I mean, it makes no sense to me. Okay, after gate 3, due to having one spire, it is easy to defend. But after spire, there were no choke points at all to defend. I think it's better to add some more defensive chokes if developers want to make zone crossing each other. Okay. Wow, so they're talking, I'm very confused. Do they mean like going into a cross zone 3? Or did they mean, because if I'm looking at the level 3 pass in Rise of the Dragon, let me just go into a kingdom here, right? So if I look at the level 3 pass, you're talking, yeah, level 3. I don't think it's a level 3 pass. Level 3 pass goes into zone 3. I think what they probably mean is the level 4 pass, which goes from zone 2 into zone 3, right? Maybe that's what they meant. So it says, thank you for your feedback. If similar structures are used in the following seasons, more choke points will be added for defense. Okay. I wish they would have given us a little bit more there. Okay, so this wraps it up for the 5th R5 Q&A on the Rise of the Dragon season. We carefully read through your feedback and suggestions and appreciate your participation. All of them are of great value to us in improving these features in the game. Hope to see you again in the next Q&A. So, listen, Lindas, make no mistake about it. This Hall of Kings Q&A number 5 is arguably the best one, if not one of the best. There was so many great points that were brought up, and as equally great of responses to know that we're going to be getting more things coming up in the future. Again, the dark horse, or the highlight one for me, is the fact that we are going to be getting the opportunity to select your starting zone. This cannot be overstated enough on the potential possibility for this to be a massive, massive game changer. I say this because I don't know any kingdom builder at the moment on the market, / also that I've played and or have heard about, that implements this feature. This to me, now maybe there is, but at this moment in time, this to me is a revolutionary idea and feature that COD could be the first kingdom builder in the strategy genre to implement something like this. And it is such a massive quality of life change that, again, I hope is going to be a big win and something where we're going to see a massive net positive from this. I'd love to know what you guys think on this or anything else that we touched on. What's your favorite point? What's your least favorite point? What do you wish they expanded more on? Let me know in the comments down below. That's it for us. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.